Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Praise be to Allah, the Lord of all the worlds. Because of a question or two the other night, I'd like to go over this subject of Rabb one more time, Rabbil Alameen. In the Arabic language, there are three root word radicals, and like if I was looking up Muslim, I wouldn't go under Muslim and try to find it. I would look up Salama, And those are the three word radicals. And under Salama, I would find peace, I would find peace treaty, I would find Taslim, I would find one who enters into peace by accepting Islam, which is a Muslim. And so that's the way Arabic is. Now, and it's just an English representation, whether it's the concordance that I have, one of those big man, I bought this first concordance. I got one back there. I got 3 or 4 of them everywhere because it's so important. About 35 years ago or more, I ran across this English, it's a concordance on, did in the Arabic style. So even that, before I really got deep into Arabic. Now, just so everybody understand, I have 2 years in Arabic, and it ain't no big deal. And so somebody suggested that I learn Arabic. Well, no, that's fine. It's very good. And that's why I want to explain something. When we talk about Arabic and the harms in people learning the language just to learn it and to show off and what have you, that's what we're against. We have the Quran is the most common thing that the Muslims have out of all of our various languages is the Quran. The Quran is revealed in the Arabic language, and we should all be moved to study Arabic. Now, in years past, many of the Swahili in East Africa used to be written in Arabic script. And Persian is still, and Urdu is still written in some of the other languages. But that was a time when in Turkey they call it Uthmani script. They wrote the language in Arabic script. But after the Freemasons and those guys took over, they stopped the wearing of Muslim clothes, turbans, and all of that, and hijab. For a while, they was calling the Adhan in Turkish, and they started using what they use now, English letters. Okay, so after the decolonization period, if you look around the world, when I was in East Africa and I looked at old script in the museums, it was all written. Swahili was written in Arabic script. So that means all along East African coast. Not only was the language half African, it was about half Bantu, and half Arabic. They have Kwanzaa right now. And the first principle, what is Imani? Imani, what is it? Of course, everybody knows Imani. Was it Nia? Yeah, it's just ridiculous, Now, Ron Karinga is supposed to started at here. I never run across much Kwanzaa in East Africa. And he actually called himself Malana Ron Karinga. Like teacher, stuff like that. But anyway, Kuchagalia, Ujamaa villages. And that was big when I was there. Ujamaa from Jamaa, collective work responsibility, all those things. Saba Day, 7th day, July the 7th, all that stuff. So when I became a Muslim, a real functioning Muslim, I said, man, this guy just jumbled up a bunch of stuff and put it together, and he called it, and they got all the Negroes doing it. They do. They Kwanzaa down. Right now, they Kwanzaa started the 20, I don't know, somewhere is now. But anyway, in Malaysia, in Indonesia, by the way, and I'm just going off 10, 20, 30 years ago, the best reciters of Quran that won all the contests in Saudi Arabia was from Malaysia and Indonesia, places like that. Arabs, Saudis, they just didn't win. And in Arabia, they didn't win. That's what I'm saying. Every contest and beautiful tajweed, and I listened to a lot of them, and a lot of them, see, in Malaysia and all that, they got people like Nur Aisha and all them, they got women recite. And Arabs don't, the Saudis don't do it, but So you get used to all kind of beautiful reciters. Not to change the subject, but the last time I was in the Sudan, we was bumping down the Nile and, just, riding, and Durman is over there, and, the State House is on this side, and they was talking about how bad the Muslims were treated in Sudan, in the north. And I walked into the State House, a big, long compound. Next to it was the biggest church in Sudan. I said, what's that? They said, that's the church. That's the biggest church in Sudan. I said, wait a minute. The news keeps saying how bad y'all treating. They said, man, everybody down there want to come up here. He said, we can't keep the people out, which everybody knows that from over there. You can't keep the Southern Sudanese because of the economy, the everything. But anyway, so the language of Quran, the old script of other countries was an Arabic script. They would add a couple of different letters, like in Persian, they have 4 extra letters because Arabic don't have a P. But if you look in Pakistan Airlines, they have a P. Just like the Persians, they have a P. It's just the same as a B with 3 dots under it. Okay. So you can say Pakistan. Or like people used to say, what does the sign mean, bark outside? That's what Arabs talk, Well, it means the visitors, you park outside. And Bebsi, they couldn't say Pepsi. They said Bebsi, little stuff like that. So they have extra letters for their own language, but they write, everything is written in Arabic script now in Iran and other places. So they might have a cha, a CH sound, because they don't have that in Arabic. So there's 4 basic sounds that they don't have. Okay, so you get used to Arabs, the Arabic language, and all the changes and where the languages come from. Like Urdu is a made-up language that they speak in Pakistan. Urdu from art, from soldiers, because all the soldiers, some of them spoke up on some border there where they was speaking one of the languages. They were speaking Hindi, and they were speaking Arabic, and they were speaking Turkish, and probably Farsi, 4 languages. And they just blended them all together, the soldiers, and later on that became a language. That's where Urdu came from. It came from the soldiers. The whole language of Urdu that they speak in Pakistan, and you have a Hindi sound, you can hear them, it sounds like Hindi, G and all of that stuff. I'll get to this Arabic in a minute, but the subject of Rabb, Master, Lord, what have you, and this is from the English. Now, this is all the places where Rabb is mentioned in the Quran. And these lines have about 55 lines, and there's 17 pages, 17 and a half pages. So 935, you add that half a page is 1,000. I believe that Rabb is mentioned more than Allah. Yeah, Rabb. Because, I'm used to using the same book, and I don't think Allah, I said Rabb. And I looking, I said, man, this boy here I did it before, but I'd never counted. And so I said, look at this, will you? So what I'm trying to say is, this is a concordance of Quran. When I'm studying, I always use this English concordance, but I collaborated with the Arabic dictionary, Hans Wehr mostly. I use Hans Wehr because Hans Wehr is the dictionary that we use. So Hans Wehr would have whatever word I was looking at that time. Kalaka. Yeah, kalaka, to create, to make, on and on. So this whole page is on the back of this, which we was reading the other day. So the way I study is, if you notice that we do tafsir of Quran more than we do recital, is because after years we looked at the people that went overseas and came back. They went overseas and came back. And we just looked at, number one, they was going to Saudi Arabia at first, and then later on they was going to Syria. Like some of our brothers and sisters went to Syria. The only thing, when they came back, they just didn't do nothing. And the saddest visit I had, remember we went up to Jersey, and the whole East Coast members of Imam Waratadeen Muhammad's community was there. And we walked in there, and they had a subservient mentality. You got to go over and study and get the ilm. And they was bragging about something they discovered over there. Remember Al-Ghazali? Al-Ghazali. That's it. I felt so sad. Well, we just stayed there. We prayed, stayed there a few minutes, and then got back on the highway and came. We drove all the way there for that conference and we might have spent an hour there. That's about it. And then we came on back. The lectures, we listened to half of the first lecture, was bragging about over there. And then if you look at what they were doing here, they done lost all consciousness of themselves. They done lost all. I said, man, that's dirty. I didn't know they would get the Chiefs folks like that. But they got them. And they got them when they take you over and learn, if they take you to Saudi Arabia and get this so-called Fusa, that's classical Arabic. And see, the Arabic of Quran, the Quran and the grammar and everything determines the Arabic language. It is the criterion. So there's no other language that old that has, see, the Quran distinguishes the Arabic language. And everything outside of that is Amiya or modern or colloquial. So they had trained the brothers to disavow the functioning Quran. Why do we study tafsir more than we do? That's the thing about, well, especially Brother Tufel and I. He loved it. If you go over in his house now, you'll see where he had tafsir of Quran. We used to study the tafsir and we used to discuss it all the time. Why? Because tafsir means to make things clear or easy or what have you. The mufassirs are the ones that read and studied Quran. Most of them memorized the Quran, and then they research the language of Quran, the structure of Quran, and a lot the vocabulary. Okay? And so then they write commentary. Just like Yusuf Ali, a lot of that is commentary. At first you read it and you don't like it. Then after you start reading it again, you say, man, this guy wasn't too bad. Of course, he used some Shakespeare and all of that, which all let's call them what they are. The Saudis took the old Yusuf Ali. The old Yusuf Ali used to always use God. Now they changed God to Allah, which is good. But they took out certain parts. Muslim heaven, eschatology, the study of heavenly things. They took that out because it was too spiritual. And call them whatever you want. They're rulish type people. They don't practice they beat you if you don't go pray. But what is everybody praying and they stealing and they doing whatever? They don't institute nothing. But like rituals, the word that says this, that, and other. And I had a discussion with a guy, and I mentioned it in Khutbah sometime, I went into a prison over there in Maryland. It was a federal prison. It was out on Highway 68 or 160, something like that. So it's a federal correctional institution when I used to be able to go in. So I went in and talked to everybody, liked it. Question and answer come up. The guy asked me, where is Allah? Where is Allah? I said, Allah is everywhere and nowhere. Allah is everywhere. What do you mean, where is Allah? Allah is on the throne, and his throne is over the waters. I said, you mean Allah is sitting on the throne? Can you imagine how limiting this is? Allah is Rabbil Alameen. They got Allah kind of sitting on a throne somewhere, and his throne is over the waters. He even created the waters, 7 heavens and 7 earth. And there's hadith that said it may be Ibn Abbas or one of them was talking about, man, it may be 40,000 dimensions in creation. You know what I mean? It was a hadith. And he was saying that it could, let me see, I can find it right here. There are various opinions about the connotation of the term Alameen, the world. But they all lead to the same meaning. The opinion of Ibn Abbas is that it is the worlds of the jinn and mankind that have been alluded to. Abu Sa'id Khudri radiallahu anhu says, there are 40,000 worlds of Allah, or of Allah's creation. Our world forms one of them, from one end to the other. In other words, we talked about this before, about the dimensions, 3-dimension, and there are worlds we perceive, and there's worlds that we're just not equipped to perceive, but they're there, you know. And this hadith is just laying it out. And it gives you the hint that there are many, many, many worlds, you know, that Allah didn't create just this one, but samawati wal ardi and sabah samawati, 7 heavens and 7 earths. That's just one dimension that we can see and what have you. But that's not the whole of Allah's creation. And that goes back to Rabbil Alameen. That's what it's talking about. So what I want to do is read a few of the commentaries. These are all from commentary of Quran. And the first one, well, they're not too bad, but they really say basically the same thing. This is from Maulana Muhammad Ali. Now, when I studied with Arabs, we used to study Yusuf Ali, and we used to study Maulana Muhammad Ali. And the Arab said, when we read the commentary, he said that Maulana Muhammad Ali is better than Yusuf Ali. In other words, the way it lays things out is something they're more used to. But Maulana Muhammad Ali, he's not on shaky ground, but there's one, Maulana Muhammad Ali, have y'all heard of Qadianis or anything like that? Qadianis. Qadianis, of course, you didn't heard about it. Yeah, Qadianis is just a crew. Here's the way they fall down. This guy called Ghulam Ahmed. So they call Qadianis and they call Ahmadiyas. Yeah. The early Muslims in America were Ahmadiyas. Under the British, they liked them because they kind of pulled jihad out of it, you know, out of Islam. So they gave them the license. So everywhere you would go in the islands, everywhere, it would be the Ahmadiyas. In America, I don't know whether it was Dakota Station, all of them people was Ahmadiyas. Not Sonny Rollins, but who else? Yusuf Lateef, all those old guys, they were Ahmadiyas. And the translation of Quran they used was Maulana Muhammad Ali, which is a monster. It's good. They were both written and translated. His first translation, it was the first translation of Quran by Muslims, 1917. Next he did it in 1937 or 36, because Yusuf Ali did his in 1937. But anyway, the lamb always had stuff from the lamb without spot or blemish. There's always these sacrifices stuff for all of us. You know, so the lamb. Anyway, the lamb without spot or blemish, that means he didn't do nothing wrong. He don't have nothing on him. He sacrificed himself for us. Very good. And then on top of that, he had, if you read Message to the Negroes or something like that, they have guidelines. You can find certain, literature if you want to. If you're looking in the Bible, you can find it here. If you're looking in Yusuf Ali, you can find it there. And if you look in Maulana Muhammad Ali. So it was helpful. So it was helpful. And what happened was Ghulam Ahmed, there's two groups of them. There's more, but there's two main groups. One believed Ghulam Ahmed, who died in about 1909 or something like that from India. He was, they consider him a prophet, so they're out of Islam. Now, Ahmadiyya, Qadianis, they are, the Ahmadiyyas is out of Islam. The Qadianis, they don't say he was a prophet, they say he was a mujaddid. So you find a lot of that revivalist stuff in there in Maulana Muhammad Ali. But let me read a little bit of Maulana Muhammad Ali, and because his writings were very good. The book that I still have, Religion of Islam, for those days was the best book that it was a packaged book that I read on Islam, and it just boosted you way out there. The Arabic word Rabb conveys not only the idea of fostering, bringing up, or nourishing, but also that of regulating, completing, and accomplishing, i.e., that of evolution of things from the crudest state to that of the higher perfection. According to Rabb, Rabb signifies the fostering of a thing in such a manner as to make it attain one condition after another until it reaches its goal of completion. Hence, Rabb is the author of all existence, who has not only given the whole of creations a mean of nourishment, but has also beforehand ordained for each a sphere of capacity, and within that sphere provided the means by which Rabb, in the Holy Quran, it continues to attain gradually to its goal of perfection. Remember, I said instead of using perfection, I used excellence on purpose, because we don't want to go overboard. Because usually the human being won't evolve no matter how much evolution he has. He won't evolve to perfection. So we use excellence. The chief used to use that all the time. Yep, okay. Within the sphere provided for him, which means he continues to attain gradually to his goal of perfection. By the use of the word Rabb, the Holy Quran thus hints at the law of evolution, which is working in the universe. There is no single word in English carrying the significance of the word Rabb, nourisher unto perfection, would be nearest to the word, but it has we have generally adopted for the sake of brevity, Rabb, or nourisher to perfection, however, includes both the physical, spiritual sides so far as is concerned, his word being the spiritual nourishment through which man is brought to perfection. I'll just read a little bit more. The word translated as worlds, alameen, like Rabbil Alameen. But do you know in Arabic, has anybody heard of the satanic verses? Do you know what they refer to in Arabic and the translation? Satanic verses refer to Shaitan as Rabbil Alameen, Lord of the worlds, because that's who, it's getting a little spooky, but that's who they say hooked this whole thing up. This is Satan here. Okay. The word translated as worlds is Alameen, which is plural for alam, from the root word il, to know, indicating literally that by means of which one knows a thing, and hence it signifies world of creation, because by it the Creator is known in a restricted sense. It is applied to any class of division of created beings or of mankind. Alamin has been translated as nations in one ayat, and elsewhere all the all-comprehensiveness of the lordship of Allah in the very first words of the Quran is quite in consonance with the cosmopolitan nature of the religion of Islam, which requires an admission of the truth of the prophets and all nations. Okay, could you turn the heat on just a little bit? Now I'm going to read from, Mir Ahmed Ali. Mir Ahmed Ali is, that's a Shia translation of Quran. It's a Shia translation of Quran. But here's what he say. The role of Rabb starts as early as the will to create a being. And when the being is created, to nurture it with love, devotion, never seeking vigilance, and care, providing it with everything the creature needs according to the changes it is evolved through. All is the self-imposed duty of Rabb, that means Allah ordained on himself, like he said in the Quran, I have ordained on myself the rule of mercy. So there ain't nobody telling Allah what to do, but he say, I'm gonna hook up mercy on y'all. Everything, even sometime when your behavior is, well, like that, I might just ease the scales because of things I know. I created you and I know them. The other people might say you're a bum and you messed up and you did all that, but Allah knew what your capacity was. So Allah can balance that boy off and stretch it out and you home free. That's what Allah can do. Okay, let's see, so Rabb. To guide the creature with the awakening of consciousness, to avoid harm or hurt and only to profit, is to serve its needs. Allah is Rabbil Alameen, has provided everything with all its needs, with every provision arranged in form, measure, and manner in which one needs them. So Rabbil Alameen. So we said in our discussion before that Allah is Rabbil Alameen, and Rabb means the nourisher of perfection. It continues to support, and whatever your assignment is, if you look for your assignment, Allah has assigned you certain things also. Men walk and talk and they do things, gave us the right to speech, right? That's part of our assignment. Now, how we act in that assignment and how we apply ourselves, right? And how we use what Allah give us, right, is what give us our ability to evolve stage after stage, step after step, till we reach a certain level of evolution that we have evolved. From the crudest state, like the other said, I mean from the highest of the high, the lowest of the low, or the lowest of the low, the highest. He gave us the best taqweem, the best shape, the best form. These are all the things that I talked about last week or week before last, almost in these same words, because how I do tafsir, instead of reading it like this, I read it over and over again, and then when I'm talking, I may glance every now and then, or I'm almost reciting word for word what it says. But I just want to say, we have a mission that we believe in our assignment, that we've been assigned a mission, and that's what we do here. Everything is according to the vision and the mission, and that we believe is our assignment. When you look around America, evidently other people don't see that assignment. They read the same Quran, but look, we are not going overboard with our translation of Quran. We're saying what it says. And we're sticking to, a lot of people think the best commentary on the Quran is hadith. It's not. You know what the best commentary on the Quran is? Quran itself. Just imagine all these ayats I can read, all of them about Rabb. How do you think my mind, I'm going to read the ayat, I'm going to read the commentary on that. It don't make no difference who it is. I'm going to read the commentary on that. And then I'm going to go to, let's say, a minimum of 8 other translations with their own little dictionaries right there beside it. And some of them actually, they have a technical dictionary right next to it. Like the English, the word for word meaning of Quran. Anybody seen that? The word for word meaning of Quran? They have everything in there, and then they have a word for word meaning. These are one of them. This word for word meaning this is where Rabbana la tuzigh qulubana ba'da idh hadaytana wa hab lana min ladunka rahmatan innaka antal wahhab. Rabbana innaka jami'ul nasli li yawmin la rayba fi inna Allah yukliful mi'ad. So I learned this Rabbana means our Lord. Rabbi means my Lord, because of the way Arabic is structured. Na, Rabbana, like that na sounded to me, it means ours, us, we, all of us. Rabbi means my Lord, that Allah belongs to me, not personally, but, So, do not let our hearts deviate after you have guided us, and grant us mercy out of your grace. Verily, you are the very generous giver. So if I look up here and I see Lord, right? Such men always pray to their Lord, saying, our Lord. La tuzigh, do not let me deviate, make me go astray, right? And that's the word, la tuzigh qulubana, our hearts deviate, right? So, Wahhab, very generous giver, whatever you read, Jami'ul Nasi, Jami, gather everybody together on the day of judgment, So it has a dictionary right there beside it. So now imagine if you're reading Quran, and you've only had 2 years of Arabic, but the way mine went was I had some Arabic way back in the late 70s, just how to read it and stuff like that, but that helps. But then we went to ISNA. In 87, we went to ISNA. And ISNA had an imams program. Believe it or not, I learned something there. When I went over to this place over here just for a summer program, Mahad, they call it. I didn't learn nothing. Can you imagine? Jamal Zaragoza was there teaching and all that. They wouldn't even give me a little degree because I had lectures up in Canada and everywhere. So the guys, we're not going to give you your diploma. I said, because you had to be there all the time, and I didn't. I would be going. I'd travel to give lectures. Yeah, but I had arguments with them. I mean, serious arguments. They say there's no tafsir because they all know who I am, and they know when I'm over there, I got a crew. I'm kind of teaching like, so. No, there's no comment. There's no tafsir in Quran. I said, there ain't no tafsir in Quran. What are you talking about? And then the sheikh, the Sudanese sheikh, I liked him. I saw him in Sudan. He came over when they had all that trouble. He went on back to Sudan. He said, "Hey, sheikh. You know the sheikh that was." Okay, sheikh. I'll think of his name in a minute. He used to hang around with Siraj and them when he first came over here. But anyway, he was a kind of a good sheikh. So he was teaching the class, and he explained tafsir, the same one I use. He said, you know, when it says to Prophet Muhammad, you didn't throw, but Allah threw. You know, when he threw the dust in their face. And he explained it. He said, what that means is that the Prophet actually picked up the dust and threw it, but Allah aimed it to give it its power and authority. If you're on the battlefield and you pick up a handful of dust, the camels is kicking up dust, horses is kicking, there's dust everywhere. If you just pick up a handful of dust and throw it 2 feet in front of everybody, they would laugh. They would stop fighting and roll over laughing. Man, we hitting these boys so hard, he done went crazy. He done just threw dust at our face, and there's dust everywhere, right? But it confounded them. So what they didn't like is the level of commentary. But anyway, so what we do is we study the Quran. Then we study the tafsir. And we get the benefit of a minimum of from 5 to 10 approaches of the same ayat. And then when we come and we talk about basically from the Quran, from the tafsir, from all the other, every time they use these ayats, you know, wherever they used it, I may not be able to chance, and this is 1,000 ayats I would have to read. I probably couldn't get to all of them. So I go down, and I say, okay, and I just leave a little mark where I think this is important. This is important. So maybe I read 40 ayats that's talking about the subject of Lord, Rabb, you know, Lord of the heavens and the earth, you know. Anyway, that's the way I study. So I studied the Arabic there at ISNA headquarters, Plainfield, Indiana. And it was a quick course. I'm telling you, man, we run through, it was very helpful though. We run through that course in 3 months. So it was on a schedule. You had to just force it down your throat. So I took the book. When I went back to Berkeley, they have Arabic classes. So when I went back to Berkeley, the one teaching Arabic class was a friend of mine. It was a sister. She had just came back from Egypt. Well, a white lady just came back from Egypt. And I'm not saying they're the police or nothing like that, but they were Sufis, you know, they were Sufis. They had so many Sufis in Berkeley, they called them Jufis, you know, because it was, it's a long story. But anyway, so a lot of Jews will not practice formal Islam, but they love that floaty stuff. They love it. Hmm? No doubt about it. And they got places where they all live together. The white folks, some is Buddhists, some is Sufis, and some they just be down with it. But they don't want to be down with functional Islam, jihad fi sabilillah, you know, love for the cause of Allah. They want to love because they like that girl over there. They like that girl. So that's what they be liking. The point is, so everybody will understand before you call back here and tell me, well, I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm going to explain my study process. I study the Quran, and of course, sometimes we relish it with hadith on the same subject. If it's about salat or zakat and all those things, there are hadith that go along with it. So you're actually talking about Quran and hadith, okay? So that's what we do. But then, as far as vocabulary and all of that, we study that in detail because that's my favorite part. Not linking words together and all of that, which we do. Because if you read this long enough, pretty soon you can translate ayats pretty good. You know, you can read the ayat, what they're talking about, and you could translate it back to Arabic, right? Or you can read the Arabic, and if it's not really way out there, you can get 75% of it easy. You know, you could actually translate it. After so many years of doing it, after every lecture you give, or every Islamic lecture you give, you're studying the Quran, and just like here, we clip that and we keep these lectures. I got lectures back to, I don't know when, back into the 70s. Because why use up all of that research, right? So every folder is a lecture or collection of lectures, you know. Then the other part is, the person said two things. Number one, don't say things that might be hurtful to people, da-da-da-da-da-da. Okay. The other thing is about Rabbil Alameen. Rabb does not mean nourisher to perfection. So as we have seen so far, that's exactly what it means. I mean, that's exactly. And I've read from already 2 or 3 different approaches. Here's one from Rabb is the comprehensive term meaning creator, nourisher, sustainer, protector, and controller. No single English word adequately conveys its meaning. The word Lord is used for convenience only. And I think almost everybody have said that. The Arabic word Rabb, which has been translated into Lord, stands for master and owner, sustainer, provider, and guardian, sovereign, ruler, administrator, and organizer. Allah is the Lord of the universe in all senses. I go right on that. Rabb, sustainer, is a poor substitute for this word. No, Rabb, sustainer is a poor substitute for this word, since in Arabic it signifies a being who creates a thing, and then gradually there are various options about the connotation of the term Alameen, but they all lead to the same meaning. Opinion of Ibn Abbas is that it is the worlds of the jinn and mankind that has been alluded to. Abu Sa'id Khudri radiallahu anhu says, there are 40,000 worlds of Allah's creation. Our world form one into the other is one of them. Qatada says, it includes all there is part from Allah. That is, whatever separate. There's Allah, the creator, and then there's Alameen, the creation. That's the only 2 realities. See the Allah, that's the reality, the ultimate reality, and then there's creation, whatever kind of creation it is. Animal, human. Yusuf Ali says, there are many worlds, astronomical, physical worlds, worlds of thought, spiritual worlds, and so on. In every one of them, Allah is all and all. Finally, as we all know, everyone lives in a world of his own. Any praise that is ever sung, whether for Allah or for anyone, develops it until it reaches the highest possible point of its development. Muhammad Assad writes, the Arabic expression Rabb embraces a wide complex of meanings, not easily expressed by a single term in another language. It comprises the ideas of having a just claim to the possession of anything and consequently authority over it, as well as rearing, sustaining, and fostering anything from its inception to its final completion. Rabb, same thing. Fostering a thing, nurturing, might as well be feeding it. You know what I mean? Guiding it, directing it, right along the way. Okay, let me get a few more of these. As we were reading from, this one is nice. Verily we have created in the right proportion and measure. This is continuing from the Shia translation, Mir Ahmed Ali. Some of it is wonderful, but Iranians don't use it, at least they didn't 20 years ago, because there are a few things, I don't know, they're saying Indo-Pakistanis kind of float out there a little bit. I think they use it a little bit now, but no, they got their own translations. Okay, this is one single name of Allah, Rabbil Alameen, totally annihilates all beliefs in all the false imaginary deities. It automatically established the truth against all falsehood, and that everything in the universe depends upon the one supreme Lord of the whole universe for its very existence, sustenance, and protection. It does not leave the least room for anyone in the universe to claim any position of a god or goddess or any use of anyone who also is codependent upon the same supreme authority. The unity and the perfect harmony found in creation and also eloquently implies the unity of the Creator and His supreme authority over the creation as a whole. I'm going to skip a little bit, but defining Rabbil Alameen, Lord Cherisher of the worlds. Alameen means the heavens and the earth, and will pass down to addressing Allah as Rabb implies that He who nourishes, cherishes, and protects a creature of His own must also necessarily be beneficent and merciful. And when a master or a lord or a king sits to judge his own created, nourished and cherished and protected ones, he would naturally be just and at the same time merciful. So if Allah, just imagine how the Christians are. They scared of God's wrath gonna come down on you and He gonna work you overboard till you straighten up. And the Quran starts Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Both of them, the root of both of them is kindness, tenderness, and mercy. Rahama. The womb, Arham, comes from that, from Rahma. Because definitely in the womb, you're getting plenty of Rahma. Oh, you just laid all back and got it going on, throw a couple of kicks out there, and that's about it, and you home free. You perfectly receiving Allah's gift. Now remember, Allah gave you the mother, but put milk in the breast of the mother before you even got here. and got you come out sucking and got her breast there, and you home free again. Kindness, tenderness, and mercy. We don't believe in Allah is just mean and going to do this or that. And Allah, even if we mess up, He created us and know, this is what it's saying. He created us to know so He know His creation. And so He can judge His creation. He know what we had, what we don't have. He knows us perfectly, right? And we depend on Allah. We depend on the rahmah of Allah. We depend on that. Hey, man, anybody got any senses? Not, man, I do so many, I done said 6,500 good deeds in the last 2 months, so I'm home free. You're crazy. Absolutely crazy. Right? Insanity. You got to depend on, you know, you don't got to, you just do. You know. Anyway, let's get back to where we was. So the king and judge is merciful. The justice done by such a master, even though with the strict application of the law to recompense everyone according to one's own earning, will naturally be tempered with the mercy of the Creator to his creature, of a Lord to his one's subservient, and a king to his poor subject. Only those who could not receive the benefit of the beneficence of the royal mercy for any reason unpardonable will naturally receive the punishment. This aspect of the nature and careful against the strict justice, forget it, and at the same time keep him hopefully attached to his nourisher and cherisher, and the protector, Lord expected of the divine mercy. In other words, Allah created everything, and Allah gives you what you got coming, but you're always hopeful of Allah's mercy. Because remember, Allah says of himself, my mercy outweigh my wrath. So yeah, you deserve, you know what you deserve. I ain't gonna be bothered with you, but you already know what you got coming. But the rahmah that goes along with it. And we dependent on that. I mean really, really dependent on that, you know. Why do things like forgive your brother 70 times a day? It don't mean you count up 1, 2, 70. It mean a lot. I'm going to forgive the people. Well, you have to forgive the people a lot. Why? Because Allah forgive you a whole lot. Okay, careful. The name Rabb, to keep man alert and careful against the strict justice, and at the same time keep him hopefully attached to the nourisher, cherisher, and protector. So whoever said that Rabbil Alameen, or Rabb does not mean nourisher to perfection, sustainer, right? So they missed the boat. That's what Rabb is. And Rabb, I'm telling you, I believe that Rabbil Alameen and Rabb is mentioned maybe more than Allah in the Quran. They're close. I know, because these many pages I haven't seen this many. I've seen about half this many pages with Allah. So Rabb means, man, if anybody can get hold to Rabb, they on a roll. You know what I mean? Let's see. We'll move toward let's see what we have here. This is why the expression of gratitude is followed by Rabb. Rabbil Alameen, the sustainer of all the worlds, spheres, realms, and domains. As if to say, O man, beware. Acknowledge and heed the fact that you are mortal human. Live in one world. You can see only so far. You can hear only so much. You can sense only with your 5 limited senses. You have all the privileged faculties that Allah created for you, but still you are a mere mortal. Much of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala much as Allah has honored and privileged you and raised your quality of beings. Yours is one world, but Allah is Lord and sustainer of all the worlds, going far beyond your range of time, space, duration, and distance. Worlds so fine and minute that they will remain undetectable to your most delicate scientific and advanced instruments. The worlds so enormous that they will never be accessible by your finest technologies and discoveries. This all-encompassing statement of divine grandeur, followed by the phrase, Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, further diminishes and reduces the ego of man. Reduces the ego of man. One begins to think, well, who am I to pass judgment on a certain mishap or plight when I do not have the whole picture in perspective? I simply do not have all the facts. There's also a social content to the word worlds, and in the ayah, when a disciplined Muslim repeats the phrase, sustainer of all the worlds, tens of times each day, he also recognized the ethnic, racial, culture, and gender worlds or domains, among others. There is worlds of plants and others of animals. These worlds or spheres existed in the past. They exist in the present, and they will, inshallah, continue to exist in the future. Some events, floods, earthquakes, avalanches, and so on, are undoubtedly tragic. But the tragedy is in our immediate perception through the agency of our humanness. But here in Salah, we are communicating with Allah, and He is not human. It behooves us then in our restricted capacity, but with our unrestricted potential. Restricted capacities, unrestricted potential. That don't mean that we can fly like a bird, but we can build an airplane and it'll outfly a bird, you know. You know that thing. So, okay, let's see. At the same time, acknowledges Allah's superiority. Okay, I'll go back. Allah is not human. It behooves us then in our restricted capacity, but with our unrestricted potential, to admit our vulnerability and at the same time acknowledge Allah's superiority and His dominance. Hence, immediately after appreciating Allah's universal scope, a Muslim discerns and contemplates an authentic sense of plurality. This witness to physical and social worlds and spheres in itself, and admission to a global as well as a local plurality once the ego recedes. So the ego, a lot of the ego has to do with Lord of the worlds, I'm Lord of the worlds. Like what's the name said? What are you talking about? Well, I give life and death. I give life and death. Well, okay, my Lord causes the sun to rise in the east and set in the west. What does yours do? He was dumbfounded. This is a simple thing. If you so bad, make the sun rise over there and set over here. Simple, right? I guess that was Nimrod or one of them boys. Okay. That's some of the main points. Now, what I want to talk about is some of our experience. Our experience has been with many kinds of Muslims. Okay? We have been, for years, it's been 35, almost 40 years, that we very seldom follow up an attack on the Muslims when they, misstate, misrepresent, or what have you. But now we have come to a long fork in the road. And when the Quran talks about wala dhalim, those who go astray, dhalla could mean, and this is from commentary, you can read Maulana Maududi, a tree that's standing alone all by itself. It's dhalla. When you come to a fork in the road and you got to make a choice, the good choice or the bad one, or the right one or the wrong one, you're hoping and praying that you make the right choice so that you don't become one of the wala dhalin, those that go astray. All right. So people sometimes try to manipulate and control your dialogue by saying things like, oh, you shouldn't say things that are meaningful and hurtful to people. Well, this might be the 39th year that you don't find nobody holding up on us about saying things that are mean and hurtful, right? We're not repaying them, but there comes a period when you feel so for people that you want to help realign their behavior, right? It's dawah, it's tabligh. What we're doing right now is tabligh. Tabligh is a type of teaching. Dawah is inviting people to something. But we are now teaching, and sometime when you're teaching, you have to teach the hard realities, that you can actually go to hell if you keep doing what you do. Because people are comfortable doing what they do. That's why they don't want to hear what we have to say. And so they will play little childish games trying to shorten our discourse or not to say certain things. We're not going for that. We used to do that. That's why I was talking about a couple of sisters was talking about Allah will not change the condition of a people until they ghayrul nafsi, your nafs, till you change yourself. And fusihim, that's the word here. Okay. The other is, might be 854:3, something like that. It says Allah will not change the niyama, right? Okay, those are two different words, totally different. So the sister was reminding me, she had a class and the guy was teaching it, probably was teaching on that ayat. And she didn't know that I was talking about the ayat 13, 11. And so I didn't say nothing. It was two sisters, Karima and, I ain't gonna say, the other lady. So I just folded my hands and said, okay, I don't want to browbeat, practicing chivalry, that's what it's, chivalry. That's what I was practicing. harm a lady who's psychic. Then I got the word that, yeah, I heard they called you out on. So I went to the person, I said, you see these two ayats? I told him, I said, that's the ayat they was talking about, this ayat I was talking about. But they almost say the same thing, but they don't technically. One is talking about Allah will not change the condition of a people till they change themselves. The other is talking about the niyama, right? That certain blessing and gift that Allah has given them until they change. And I said, no, that's not the same thing. A lot of times, we've been in the masjid teaching, then we come down and finish Salatul Jummah, and some person that's not really educated will stand up and say, and of course you can see what's going on because all 10 of people from way back in, they walk in during Jummah. So you say, I'm not going to give them nothing. And then one of them jumps up. You talked about Imam Zayd, and Imam Zayd, you said he was your friend. I said, hold on a minute, don't run out the door, because they were going to say they spill and run out the door. So as he's going out the door, I just remind them that when Imam Zayd and them in 97, when we was at the ICNA program, and what's the name was there too? The Arab brother that was in the movie with, what's the name, stepson? Nashashidi. I knew Nashashidi because he was going to the University of Chicago and they invited me up there to speak. Ramin Nashashidi. Yeah, when he was doing the MSA stuff up there, it was way back in the 90s. He invited me up there and I spoke. Okay, and so I knew him, but when I was at the 97, I think it was around 90, in Chicago, we had one table, book table over here. We had bought another table just for $450 with all of the As-Sabiquns on it. Abdul Malik was supposed to stand behind that one, and I was standing behind the books. A little later, Hamza Youssef and Zayd comes by my table. Can we talk to you? Da, 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 da. And so we went upstairs where you could see out over the whole little thing, and we had a meeting. Some of our brothers was there, and they came, and the brother said, Zayd wanted to talk to us on behalf of Hamza. Because the way, I'm just telling you the way everybody was at, Hamza was acting like a scary kind of girlish. Like, he was, just telling you how he was acting. He was acting like a white boy, right? Like a real easygoing, not no tough Peckerwood type white boy. But I'm telling you how he was acting. The people, the way they look at me and the way they talking about our brothers in Oakland. I said, oh, no, we don't do that. You can teach, because I'm teaching Maliki. You can teach, you can have your sheikh over there, all the way. None of our brothers are going to have anything to do with what you teach. Now, at the same time, Mellow Yellow is going out there, and Hamza is giving all these beautiful speeches, and so is he about Malcolm and Betty Shabazz, and it makes you cry. Hamza's out there to help him because there's no good Negro speaker out there with a little stature, so he comes out there to help him. I go by the dark house, they call it the lighthouse, one night, on Tuesday night, and they're all in there, and a couple of Iranians that I knew, and I said, man, everybody is over here. And all he was doing was translating from a simple book. he was saying the hadith and then translating it. And it was actually a little boring, but it was nice. And when he was at UCLA, he was telling everybody that Islamic movement, because we deep in the Islamic movement then. And California is our territory. So all the universities are picking up and listening to all of them, from Irvine all the way UCLA, all up to Berkeley, everywhere. I mean, it's big. So he's telling the people what level you have to be on. He said specifically, Islamic movement is not a on-the-job training type thing. And he talked about the people who he was talking about and what you got to do. He's just telling them, these people don't know what they're talking about. I didn't say nothing to him, because I didn't want people to think black people are always arguing and they don't get along. Because when I told the people about, what's the name over there, Dar al-Hijra? Oh, why can't y'all just get along? I said, why can't we get along? They think I'm trying to tell them, this boy is sitting up next to you, this boy is the police. That's the way it is. You can say what you want. That is the police. Nobody at Howard would stop another person, whatever they call it, the chaplain. Can you imagine all the beautiful programs we had at Howard? And Howard is neutral territory. So people that won't come here, they would come there, because it's at Howard, you know. We had most of our, in the early days, good programs over there. But the guys with them stopped our programs. We don't know about what does it mean to you? Who are you? What are you talking about? What's wrong with So he cuts our throat. And who's standing next to him? The immigrants, blowing stuff in his ear. Yeah. So he knows not only he's been there 50 years, he turned gray-headed over there. You know, I mean, so, and he would bring Siraj down, and Siraj would say, I'm here at Howard, and it's not, nobody's fighting over Howard, but that was his homeboy. In everything, I'm sitting down there at the meeting, at the first, manna meeting. And every now and then I'd raise my hand. They'd drive right on over me, and then Hamza would talk, well, the earth is rotating on 23 degrees on its axis, and therefore, so does that mean have to do with struggle? And Siraj is saying, well, Imam Zayd, I'll be happy to give you bay'ah. I said, hey, what about, you want to have any discussion about anything? And all the prison imams, all of them was on one team. They invited me. In fact, what's the name? The light-skinned brother went to the University, Cairo. American University of Cairo, of all things. Now, I'm not into this, but all the American universities used to be the Christian mission in Lebanon. When you hear about in Lebanon, the American, whatever they call it, it used to be the Christian mission. The American University in Cairo used to be the Christian missionary. And so everybody, anyway, Ihsan Bagmi, it was at another ISNA, the same ISNA thing. Remember when we was there and my grandson started acting stupid? Yeah, and I went up to Detroit to make a talk, and they run off with my truck. They took my truck, and I had to get anyway, long story. It's no big deal. It's common. That stuff happens all the time. It ain't no big deal. No, I can't tell you all the stuff. You think I was lying. No, you would think I was lying. But anyway, so they were so off track. Hamza says, I have other responsibilities. In other words, his sheikh is over, and he have given bay'ah already to his sheikh in Mauritania. Yeah, he's in Mauritania. And Hamza has good Arabic. And one Negro I was watching this all at the ISNA conference, he speeded up on speaking Arabic, like, you know, at a certain speed you can understand it. Hamza was understanding that. I said, this boy is CIA trained or something. Because I know the other one is, the Negro is CIA trained. But you know that even amongst police, there's jealousy. He's get a better job than I do because he's white. And he don't put but 2 niggas in jail and I put 50. No, that's the way I'm telling you. Anyway, the point is this. We're at the meeting, and so Hamza says his little spiel. Everybody say they spiel, and I'm there kind of crazy, raising my hand to get recognized. I didn't speak all that time. I said, okay, no problem. So now comes to what we're going to have. We're going to have an Amir, we're going to have a da-da-da-da-da, we're going to have Bayah. What are we going to do? This is the Muslim Alliance of North America. This is an alliance of people who are from here, white or black, but they are American Muslims, and we should have a group of our own. So, well, we can't have an Amir with that title because that's too strong a title. This is Hamza. You can't have an Amir. Can't have a Caliph, can't have nothing. Then comes, well, maybe Chairman would be. I saw like Chairman Mao. Yeah. Yeah, like Chairman Mao. Yeah. Chairman, he should tell her anything. That's good. We'll just call out, we'll be the something or other, and we'll have Siraj as the chairman. Not the Amir. We don't have no Amir or Caliph or anything with that name in it. Because he didn't want it. I said, man, this is ridiculous. I went to a couple of more meetings. I stopped going. I said, I'm not going because their design. First of all, I never wanted to go. But Imam Jamil asked me on behalf of Hassan Bagby. And Hassan Bagby, he was there teaching some of them courses when we was at ISNA. He's a professor down there somewhere. Carolina or something like that. Huh? One of them, that's close enough, yeah. That's close enough. Here's the point. Everybody has, the only time I got to show up on any of their stuff, I don't know if you remember, 2007 and 8 in Philadelphia. They had got the whole convention center in Philadelphia. Now what happened was the brothers from here went down there or up there on Friday. I came Saturday the next day. When I came in, they was all passing out flyers and everything. When I came, I was not on there to speak at all. Hadari was helping, and Jahari was it. All of them was in on it. And they spent, I heard $320,000 for the place. That's what I heard. It was just like ISNA. It wasn't like what we had. We wouldn't have no program $320,000 and give it to euros. Siraj had a thing at Madison Square Garden, and they was raising money talking about we need to pay $450,000. That electricity costs $21,000. The cameras and everything cost $5,000. I said, shoot. No, he didn't raise it, but he didn't have no problem. Somebody paid it. Okay, here's what we would have did. We would have hustled ourselves up at a school, a big masjid. We'd all be laying in here having a good time. You know, I'd get everybody fluffy pillows and sleeping bags. If you want a little matinee, you get that too. Yeah, right. And we would have kept our own money. And then he had the guy with Murder Ones on. He left him years ago. I don't know. I'll think of his name in a minute. He was up there. I guess it was a zoot suit. I don't know. I'm not talking about nobody, but I'm just telling you. Murder Ones is them black sunglasses and them colors that he. This. Now we went up there to help for security. Brother Tufel probably told y'all that when Hamza Yusuf got off the plane, they would say, Hamza is off the plane, he's landed. Hour later, Hamza is here. Hamza is here, like Jesus is here. And these are grown Negroes, tough Negroes come off right down the street. I said, what done happened? I've endured that all the time. Not endured, I've just, I don't say enjoyed it, but I've just saw it. Now, today, we're not upset at anybody, but out of love. Just like in the Quran, when Allah is stressing to you, you ought to do right now. You got to do right. Because, you know, you don't want to push me too far. Well, it ain't, you can't push a lot. But you know what I mean. There's a difference, or somewhere this justice, good and evil, and judgment meets together. And Allah's mercy. The more you work toward Allah's mercy, probably the more you get. Okay, these guys were not doing anything but trying to isolate me and cut me off. That's all of them was doing that. And I visited all of them when Siraj had this dope busting thing up there in New York. And I told him what it was. You know, I said, okay. When he came over there, first thing he said, this is my Imam Musa, and he told me about, yeah. I mean, I was a drug dealer, so I was telling him, hey, man, that ain't gonna work. That ain't gonna work. That ain't gonna work. But we have all our flyers on drugs and their effects on the community. Who's the real victim? Da-da-da-da-da-da-da, that we was doing in Oakland. And they give them the job. So they get a job, and they go out, we're the drug busters, and here's the issue. So, okay, so everything we ever wanted to do, they would give them the contract, and they would go out and try to do it. But times are closer now. And we went through all of these different phases and situations. So we're not attacking, but we have to, the dawah, the tabligh, has to take on more urgency. And that's what we're doing. So if people call, and I don't know who tell them to call, but they say simple things that are not correct, like Rabb don't mean this and Rabb don't mean that. We want you to get your study thing together. You know, get yourself together a little bit. So at least when you say something, we want it to have a certain type of coordination to it. Because we're not pulling back off of people because their feelings might be hurt. If their feelings get hurt, wait till they get to the fire. You're talking about some feelings hurt, jumping up and down and hollering. Our goal is now to assist. We've been doing this long enough that if a guy go to the university for 4, 5 years, 6, 7 years, they become a professor, right? Yeah, they become a teacher, then they get whatever they call it when you can stay all, huh? you get your PhD, you get all of that. You can get that stuff in no time. We've been doing this 40 years. This thing here, technically 45 years. But we have been associated with the highest people in the Islamic movement of our time. Everybody, whether it's Rashid Ghanouchi going to Tunisia, right? We know those people. We know those people. Everybody from everywhere that, the changeover came, they was in exile for so many years, and then it changed, and then it hit. We have been in and around all of the not wanted Islamic, not wanted, that's a bad word, but the Islamic movement that was anti-Saudi Arabia, they didn't like us, anti-Gulf states, they didn't like us, right? That we learned how this movement is acting. That's why you have to listen to the old tapes and the new tapes. You got to be fair. You got to be fair. So if we said there will be no Arab Spring, and then you get the follow-up to it, then you see what happened. Why should we be so sweethearted when the people, thousands of Equanians was killed in Egypt, right? I mean, they just opened up on them. And then they blamed everything on them. Well, we said, don't do that. But power. They came over here to talk with Obama. I think we mentioned in Khutbah. We said, boy, they better lead them. We're saying those people, they better stop. Because they taking Obama. Oh, we don't care nothing about that stuff. Just like April Gillespie said to Saddam Hussein, if you remember, before they invaded, we have nothing to do with the intra-Arab controversy. Saddam Hussein asked the white lady, April Gillespie, well, we thinking about making a couple of moves. Oh, we don't have nothing to do about that. That's why Saddam Hussein, to the day he was hit in 91, back then, he didn't think that because the white lady had told him, we don't have nothing to do with that. They set him up. We'll go into all of that later. Okay, we are here now and we're happy to be here. And we like our job. But y'all should cooperate a little bit. Ain't no sense of trying to turn us around with don't hurt nobody's feelings. What? Don't hurt nobody's feelings. What are they doing to the Muslims in the world? They're just blowing up and they're killing Muslims anytime they want. Anytime they want. They don't make no excuses. They said, oh, we just gonna kill them. Well, they Muslims.
Those leaders are silent about it.
Yeah.
They kind of deserve to get
Everything they're doing to it. Oh, well, why you? They're talking about, oh, you're hanging Iranian dissidents. What? The police walk up to us and shoot us down, right? And it's okay. Not Tamir Rice, this little boy, man, you see that nice picture of that young guy? 12 years old. They just drove up and shot him down. The car just drove up and shot him. He didn't say, hey, man, what you got? Imagine in our time, everybody used to have cap guns and them used to wear 2 pistols. It was cowboy days. Man, we got through that. We was lucky because they could say, man, we got to shoot you because you got a gun. Good God Almighty. So it's not that we don't care about other people, but we care about other people. That's why we're doing what we're doing. We don't get no extra salary or nothing. In fact, boss man trying to cut us off, All that don't make no difference. None of it makes any difference. The same thing applies this week as it did week before last. Everything boss man do, it looks like he's trying to help us, but he has to come and sit down and say, let's work this out. Because I'm not going for none of that mystery stuff where, it's not that we don't trust boss man, even if he said that he was nice, not that we wouldn't trust him. Because after all, he's been honest with the Indians and everybody. Think about that. And that stuff about fork-tonguism and Indians just make it up just because of Wounded Knee and Sand Creek and all of those places. Man, them people are so, look, it's not even, it is unbelievable. And they just go on and have their breakfast and go have their lunch, and they just go on and tell another lie, and it's nothing. And I'm going to move toward a close. Excuse me for not doing the part we said we would do, but we'll get to it. You look at this period of time. This period of time is just what we thought it would be. 2020 was the most chaotic year they've had on the white man's calendar. It ain't been nothing like this. And they saying that they make me sad sitting down listening to them. It's the end of the year, and then they go over all the stuff that happened. I said, boy, y'all had it bad this year. And we're hoping for another year. I said that the pattern is going to keep on headed. Y'all headed down, and you're not reforming. I'm sorry. This is what I'm saying to myself. It ain't going to be no good for you. You got to straighten up. And old Slow Joe, whatever he's calling him, right? They're not answering the questions of the society, and therefore they'll continue like they're going. Now, here we are. We got the world going crazy. We got all of our people, everything we've said have come true right in front of our faces. So whether they have a demonstration, and it's Black Lives Matter, and we're down there talking, and the Black Lives Matter people are going around us to come back over there to make sure we don't, and you can describe, this is a theater that's down here, and they just stop. It ain't no fun to do it if he's going to sit there calling, this is round number 2, and here he goes, like wrestling. That's what it was to me. I said, here they go. They going, I was describing it just like it's a wrestling match. Okay, here comes Ray Stevens, Gorgeous George fixing to do this, and oh my goodness, right? He's body slammed on the concrete, and he haven't even broke no arms and no nothing. Boy, this guy is good, right? That's what we was doing down there. For all them people to zip back over, and whether we was down here, wherever we was, we are on the conscience of the people more than anybody. That's just, they act like that. Right? The police cut us off on the sidewalk. Hey, da-da-da-da-da, and he's talking crazy. That happens all the time. There's an Islamic revival going on. And all our people, hey man, they've been attacking Iran since the beginning. Iran is making mistakes. No, not Iran. But some of the sweetie pies, some of our brothers. We're going to send them a message, you made a mistake. You got to straighten up, You got to straighten up, If you don't straighten up, you know what I mean? You won't get the benefits of all the martyrdom of all the people that 1 million people died in the Gulf War, 1980, 1988, and they're thinking about themselves. Well, they can't do that. And anybody that loves their nation and their people, they've already been successful, way successful. Exported a revolution. Revolution is exported. Death to America. America's just about, he got 2-3 more weeks and he's gonna fall out, drop dead. From what they was talking about then, who would have believed that America would be where they are now? Right? And what they do to us, more the merrier. We told them and we tell everybody else, you tied to us now. Every time you do something to me or to us, 5 things gonna happen to you. They don't know whether it's true or not, because sure it is 4 or 5 things happen to them. Yeah, they don't know. And to tell you the truth, we don't either. We're inspired to say that, and it's coming from somewhere, and they getting the stew whooped out of them. You know, the stew getting whooped out of us because we don't care. You already did everything. We're not impressed with boss man. Boss man done lost, look at here. You talking about chaos and confusion and unintended incidents coming up all the time, circumstances. So they do 911 to get everybody and then they go and they do. We keep everybody fighting and we'll get all the money. They won't develop their country and we'll get all the money. And they go right there to Afghanistan and in 2 days they just blew up everybody. They're gonna win and And then they get super arrogant. They say, we just knocked this over. We go get Iraq. They didn't even wait. They run straight to Iraq and they got there. So, I think we made a mistake. And they can't go home. They can't go home. They can't leave. And remember, everything they have done, they have paid a cost that's in colonial wars. It's always the white folks with the weapons kill 1,000 black people to one of theirs, you know. Old Commander Rhodes from Cape Town was talking about the people of Montevideo land and how they uprising and all that. And the white folks, according to their mathematics, whooped all them people and they didn't lose but 8 white folks. 8, because you got to remember, they had leopard skin shields, right? And they had them rifles, and then the Maxim gun, the machine gun had just come out in the 1880s. Good God Almighty. They just slaughtered our people. And Rhodes said, hey, we didn't lose but 8 people. And the whole, he was speaking from Cape Town, but he meant the whole Southern African experience. That's standard a lot of times, because we didn't use proper guerrilla warfare in those days. You know, we'd fight them out in the open, we'd run around in circles, they just pick us off. Or they would do like the French do, just galvanize, and the British did it too, into a circle, and just fire as they run all around. They just firing at them repeating rifles and just killing us like dogs. Yeah, and when we won, took over Khartoum, where the White Nile and the Blue Nile meet. Old Commander Rhodes was down there and talking. He tried to give the Mahdi a robe from the Emperor of China. He said, I don't want it. And they killed old, what was that? Moses, they killed him. Charles, they knocked him over. But the next year they came back, Kitchener and them with machine guns. And the brothers had them beautiful white robes just riding on them horses and camels, and they slaughtered them. Okay, so IUDs and all of this. The brothers were using some good guerrilla tactics. IUDs, you look at everybody came back here, half head blown off, legs blown off. Hey man, you should have seen how they used to drive. They would be driving almost at 100 miles an hour, trying to beat them. It didn't happen. Right now, the Americans praying, please let us leave Afghanistan. We just want to go. We want to go home. You can't go. you know, and their old friends, the dumb Taliban. Those people you have never experienced. Nobody that dumb. They're like, I'd never want to get captured by the Taliban or Deobandis or Salafis. They're all the same. I wouldn't want to, because they don't have your blood is halal. We just kill niggas. Like them dumb guys cut people's head off on TV. The blood of a Muslim is prohibited for them. Cut them niggas' head off because they don't believe in the sheikh. Hey, man. Hey, them people, your life is not worth a plug nickel with them. Okay. What I want to say is this. We're going into a new year. We have our plans, and just hold on, we'll deal with our own plans in our own time, in our own way. We have not done that bad. Technically, we've done better than everybody else. But for this go around, that's not good enough. That's not good enough. We've been dealing with controlled implosions, 9/11, all that stuff. Yeah. Chaos, unexpected circumstances. You can't take the Chinese lightly. I mean, they got to face their own stuff, but I'm talking about for the United States. They were sure 10, 15 years ago, at the early part of the century, Chinese are getting rich, they're going to be Democrats in a minute. They had it, if you could imagine how mad they are, because they kept communism, and they're not doing a bad job. And everybody recognized it. Murabani, all of them say, hey man, 95% of the people in China and now they're on this new eliminating poverty. They got a list of poor people, and they are systematically alleviating poverty. And it's not by their judgment. When they get the whole village together, because most of the people that are real poor now are out in the countryside. So they move them to the city, build houses for them, and then they can go do this and go do that, or whatever they want to. And education, they get free education, and stuff like that. And they don't judge whether you got out of poverty or not. They have what they call a democratic meeting, and all of them are there, the whole village. And the village know who's getting better and who's not. So they used to call it in the old communist days, self-criticism, criticize your policy, criticize, And so I was watching one guy, he said, that guy there, he doing pretty good. He got 2 kids, they done went to the city, and they making big money, and he's out of poverty. Because the village know the people, you know what I mean, and sometimes people be trying. They're, I would say, 80% honest, but you got to catch the other 10%, and the other 10% after that, they just get away. You can't make it perfect. But they are cutting down on poverty. How much? While we're getting poorer and poorer, look at that. When you drag 800 million, let's just be generous to the white man, 700 million, or 600 million people out of poverty in 40 years? Shh, good God Almighty. I mean, way out of poverty. Hey man, that's saying something. The United States didn't expect that. They expected we're going to send all our factories over to them. They're going to become the workshop of the world, and they're going to all become Democrats and Republicans. The Chinaman said, why should we look at y'all? You can't talking about you gonna get $2,000 or $600, then you stick a bill on it that where you can't vote on it. We don't do that, right? We build bullet trains. We do this. They tell it now. Can you imagine? That's what got the Americans mad. There's unintended circumstances. The Russians working with the Chinese, the Russians, Iranians, and Chinese working together. You see what I mean? Having military operations together. That's throwing the equilibrium. This boy is in more trouble than he realized. He's in bad trouble. Those are unintended circumstances. They thought that they was going to have a free ride. Like, okay, you see the rich, the poor, here what we're going to have. We're going to have, what was they calling it a few years ago? 99% or something. You know, when people was having demonstrations, they was, Occupy Wall Street. What they were saying was basically true. Hey, hey man, y'all got all the money. But they thought, well, we just come back in, wintertime, scrub it up. They looked at it as preemptive. All that stuff they was doing, like 9/11, preemptive. All the stuff they was doing was preemptive. Controlled implosion. If you can control the implosion, you control the recovery. They're all out of hand, I'm sorry. And the last thing about our people, I believe we're just going to win our people. We won't get all of them, but who needs all the people? We believe, and we have some evidence, some, things floating around, that they can't keep everybody. And they have some people that can read and write enough to know that if they get to throwing people overboard, it's going to be the Negroes. Yeah, I mean, the officers, the people that they, not me, boss man. What, you expect me to jump off in the river or something? It's nice knowing you. My hands is tied. That's the white man. My hands is tied. You know the system. That's how it works. That's how it works. Okay. We on a roll, and we're going to do better, and we're not falling for none of their dumb games to make us mad or distant or not feeling compassionate for our people, or not allowing, like I noticed this other Sunday when the brother that was a teacher, your friend, when we mentioned something about black, he was almost relieved, and I was just thinking, we don't even have to think about black people. There they are. You know what I mean? We were so, he act like he was thinking, I hope they don't get up and then forget about black people. That's why I was giving him all the subjects of all the studies on black kids and all that, so he would know that, yeah, we're not locked into just here. We're part of the global, That's what I was trying to explain. If we just locked in to black people, hey man, if we saved every black person, you'd still be drowning next week or burning up, catching on fire. Right? That's what would be happening. Anytime 500,000 animals and koala bears burn up in Australia, right? And they have to drop carrots out of the planes so they can eat. This stuff has been going crazy. The poor polar bears walking up. You ever see the commercials? The poor polar bears walking up and down that thing looking for something. And these people are mean. They don't care about none of that. Okay. Are there any questions or comments? But you know, one thing about that is we can take that without being all put out or pushed out of shape or mad. Because they're human beings and they have guidance. It's just a low level of guidance, that's all. They got equine guidance. If they don't have enough sense to see what happened to equine in Egypt, right, then maybe they need a couple of more things. That don't worry, they hang around like the boss man. He'll fix them up. You know, like, it's like everything else in the United States and in the world. If our brothers who are Iranian don't listen and they thought they was, and I don't want to say don't listen like we know. I'm not talking like that. I'm saying from our experience, from I got a dog in the fight, so I wanted to come out this way. We're not doing like that because that's real deadly. I did that in the dunya when I was Big Hank. I'm Big Hank, so I want to be like this. This is where the white man is now. I know what he's doing because I was doing the same thing. I'm Big Hank. I run this. This is the way I want it to be. Well, you can get away with that once, maybe once and a half. But the laws catch up with you. You can't, boss man saying, I want it to be like this, and it ain't like that. And old Don can tell everybody all he wants. They've been showing him all them lies he was telling. And couldn't we irradiate, get some kind of way, get light into, yeah. And maybe, how about a little, not the bleach, a little disinfectant. He was a little disinfected, like bleach, a little bleach, light your body. That shows you how far they gone. You see what I mean? When the people are believing that, that shows that they are gone all the way. They don't have, and they're all hooked up in a negative way. I don't believe half of what they say. Well, not half. I don't believe none of what they say. But when they say Donald Trump got these many followers, they paying them people to come out there. They look just like the people that we be observing, right? Donald Trump got all these many followers. And Donald Trump ain't got that. They paying, that's some white folks, they paying to come out. And at every one of his things that they have, they paying them people to come out. He don't have, look.
They paid him during the rallies they was paying. So why wouldn't they stop now?
Hey, look, things is going our way. So any more questions or comments at all? Any more questions or comments?
My brother said on Tuesday's program that, alhamdulillah, I always learn so much from our respected brother Imam. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continue to bless, guide, and protect him. Ameen.
Alhamdulillah. Okay, all right. Yep. So that's it?
I don't know. I was trying to remember if this book said anything about if Rabb is mentioned more than Allah. That's the only reason why I don't see.
Okay, that's, is that Maulana Maulana Maududi? Yeah, that's Maududi.
Yeah.
4 Quranic, yeah, basic terms. Yeah, yeah. What does it say?
It didn't say anything.
It didn't say anything about, but the 4 terms, I remember,
That's something just from a knowledge standpoint. When you selling books, that's a book that I had bought years ago.
yeah.
So it's just.
Yeah. The first term is illah, that's a little phony God. And, of course, Rabb. Rububiyyah, the process of, yeah. Yeah. Deen, Ibadah. Malana Maldudi's books was, we're going to put out a series of these type of books ourselves. Small books, you know, and put them out in a series, and it'll go good. But anybody that said that Rabb just, anyway, it's okay. No, it's okay.
Sometimes I be feeling bad having to even say the stuff, you know, because
No, it's okay.
I mean, I don't make my words, but if that ain't got to come out my mouth.
No, it's okay. But remember, see, your job will be to research what we're doing, how we're doing it, what other things are happening, and all of that. That's kind of like your assignment. So just think, when you research or when you watch and listen to what we're saying here, people have different attacks, they have different approaches. So if they would have used that approach, don't say mean stuff, and I'd have said, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't want to say that about that, you know, then they would have kept on. Okay, so like, see, all of us are in this together. So we have to be checking each other out and checking out what are people trying to do. You know, what are they trying to do? Then what's our response? There are certain things that we're just not going to do. We're not going to get mad. We're not going to stop liking Negroes and ourselves and humanity. No, because when you get people pop you upside the head, steal your car, do all this stuff, hey man, that stuff gets annoying. We had to endure it long enough to it don't annoy us anymore. It don't annoy us at all. I was looking at the white boy at San Jose Mercury that wrote beautiful articles on Iran-Contra and what's his name? We was on TV together, Rick, Freeway Rick, Ricky Ross. Remember when we used to come on RT all the time? Ricky Ross is a good guy, but he didn't understand the whole concept, you know. And they just flooded cocaine in here. And I mean, they did a job on us. And when we could explain it the way it really was, you didn't see us on RT anymore. You just didn't see us there anymore. You'd see they homeboys. What's they homeboys? White boys and Answer and all of that. Brian M. and his brother out in California. All of them, they all. Is it easy to see exactly? See, we've been here doing this, say, 20 years. So we got a chance to look at that. So when we say Black Lives Matter, technically it don't matter, because with those people that's running around, it don't matter. With their commentators, can you imagine all alternative media is Boss Man? Boss Man ain't gonna have no alternative media like WPFW and all that, because we get a chance to be around everybody and watch what they do. And pretty soon, it's just clear. Yeah, so we're not sad at all. We like the position we've been attempting to play. And we're going to just keep with it. And we're not going for waladhalin, people be led astray. It's more than one way to be led astray. Yeah, so we're not going for it, not consciously. Was that about all? Okay, alhamdulillah rabbil alameen.